Go to work today on the feud. Let's ask Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports. That'll be the first question out of the gate. He joins us on the Little Caesars Hot and Ready hotline. I don't know how did we even get on the topic, Todd? Do you remember? Just as a frame of reference for...
We were talking about how as men, we love our soap operas just like women do. We just like them wrapped in sports.
That's right, yes. And so that got us thinking, Charles, and thank you for joining us, person in sports that first comes to mind for you, whose name sounds like a soap opera character. Hard hitting right out of the gate.
You got to be kidding me.
Yes. No, we're not kidding you. No, of course not.
You're not going to give me some heads up on this?
I know. We probably should. We're very quick.
How about...
I'll throw a couple at you in the meantime.
Rustin Webster. How about the general manager?
That's fancy.
Rustin.
You didn't need any heads up. That was very good. That was
Charles laughs and gives us a hard time. I'm sure he's probably tired of answering Tom Brady questions, though, so he might have appreciated that.
But on to Tom Brady. All right, so Charles Robinson with us on 107.7 The Franchise. How fair was the suspension? Let's start broad, and then we'll start to work our way inward. How fair was the suspension?
I think I really feel like answering that question is a matter of opinion. You know, how you feel about someone letting some air out of some footballs. To me, I really don't think it's a big deal. And I know there are people who really disagree with me, think this is just atrocious, that it's a rule and it's there for a reason. And first off, no one can answer why that rule is there anyway. No one can answer in terms of why it's that specific, 12 and a half pounds. And, I think the rule is 80 years old, hasn't been changed in forever. I just don't think it's a big deal. I know it happens in college. I did an interview with a equipment manager who's, works with a top 25 team, perennial top 25 team. And he told me flat out, we do it all the time, constantly. He's like, whatever your quarterback is, what his, what the weight is in that football that he wants, how he likes it, whether he wants a brick or not. And, that continues on into the NFL. I know no way Tom Brady is the only guy who has screwed with footballs. And if that was the case, first off, it was he and Peyton Manning who went to the league. And, when the league started to mess around with, the kicking balls, it was he and Peyton Manning who went to the league and said, look, leave the quarterback, balls alone and let us, kind of have reign over how we like to break our balls in and everything and use them in the games. And, why would quarterbacks go, particularly, the two most esteemed quarterbacks in the league, why would they go before the league and ask that unless they wanted to break those footballs in the way they wanted them? And why would Aaron Rodgers come out and say, you know what, I prefer it overinflated. I want a brick. Those guys all think about it. So I think this is one of those rules where it's the pine tar on, George Brett's bat. It is what it is, and it's not that big of a deal. I think it was blown way out of proportion. And I think if Tom Brady had come out the day after this happened, just said, you know what, I don't like that much air in the footballs. I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. Now I realize that, it was a rule that was broken. I apologize profusely, and I'm ready to accept whatever fate the league, wants to give me. You know what would have happened? He probably would have gotten fined, and none of this takes place. But it's all the crap afterward that has stirred everything up. So, to me, it's a good lesson for NFL players. You do something small and stupid and embarrassing, just admit to it up front, and guess what? It goes away.
A lot of people think this is a PR move, and I'm sure part of it is a PR move. And there were a lot of people that wanted, Goodell to bring the hammer down and the NFL to bring the hammer down on Tom Brady because he's Tom Brady, New England Patriots. Is there any other quarterback in the league that there would have been this much public outcry to bring the hammer down on him other than Tom Brady?
No, because Brady plays for the Patriots, and there have been, everyone still talks about Spygate and loses their mind about the taping of signals. And, to me, I think that was a far worse, infraction than this was. I mean, because it involved the head coach, involved the coordination of staff, and then they then used that information, within their own game plan. I mean, they could say, it only affected 1% of our game plan or whatever. It doesn't matter. They used it, within their game plan. You deflate a football, you still got to throw it. You still got to catch it. There's all these different variables involved. I think it's far less calculating. And, I just think because of the Spygate, stuff, because of the fact that, Bill Belichick is universally reviled. I mean, honestly, I'm at the Super Bowl this year, and, the national anthem's going on. They're putting everybody's face on the screen, and Belichick's face comes up, and it's like the whole stadium booed in the middle of the national anthem. It's just the hatred. I mean, there is a lot of hatred outside of, Massachusetts for the New England Patriots for a number of reasons. And, I think Tom Brady shoulders some of that. And it doesn't help that, he's married to Giselle, that, he's got this almost iconic life that I think I think America's an underdog country. I think we root for underdogs. He is not the underdog. He's the dog. And that's how people treat him.
Charles Robinson, Yahoo Sports NFL writer, joins us in the Little Caesars Hot and Ready hotline on 107.7 The Franchise. I am fascinated with this, and I have no idea if this is even true, but I think the aftermath has got me just very intrigued as it pertains to the way Goodell not only hammered Brady, but also hammered his boy Robert Kraft. And I'm just curious. I've kind of extended my theory out a little bit further than I think I've heard anybody else do it, and so I may be way off track here, and pull me back on track if that's the case. Does the punishment that Roger Goodell handed down to Robert Kraft basically remove Robert Kraft as Roger Goodell's biggest ally? And if so, does that put Roger Goodell's job into jeopardy at all?
I don't know that it puts us. I know I've heard this. Now there are a lot of analysts out there, people, obviously cover the league, who say that, wow, this is the beginning of the end for Roger, or this is going to really hurt him. It's a bottom line business, and to me, money matters most. and although I believe Roger or Robert Kraft is upset about this, I mean, for anybody to go and stand up the way he did at the Super Bowl and demand an apology, and I mean, that was amazing. It really was amazing theater. And then to have this come out is really humbling, and it is definitely a smack from the league office to the face of Robert Kraft. And, is that relationship, is it screwed up beyond repair? I don't know about that, but I mean, I think it's definitely messed up right now. I think Robert Kraft is definitely upset. And to me, there's something even beyond that. You have to remember there's a precedent set by this. And this is what I wrote when this all came out. And it's, if you're an NFL owner, you're looking at the Spygate situation and what was taken away from the Patriots then, and it was pretty similar, in terms of the first-round pick and some of the finances and whatnot. But that was a head coach, and like I said, it was a coordinated effort, and there was a lot of moving parts to that. This was, now granted, it's the most iconic quarterback in the league, but it was a player and two low-level employees. That's really as far as the Wells report wanted to take this. Now, they complained a little bit about some of the Patriots' cooperation, but for the most part, it was clear the Patriots cooperated, despite the fact that, they weren't exactly pleased about it. They forced these employees to turn over text messages. I mean, there was definitely enough cooperation that you could see how Bill Belichick ends up exonerated in this. You can see how Robert Kraft ends up exonerated. And yet, they still lose a first-round pick. They still are fined $1 million. They still lose a fourth-round pick. So, a league source called me as soon as it came out, and I thought he raised a great point. He said, okay, so what does this mean now? Is every team now subject to a quote-unquote integrity issue if the Seattle Seahawks had 6 guys, 7 if you count Richard Sherman, who eventually got out from under the charges, but 7 guys who tested positive for PEDs in around an 18-month span. He said, does this mean now in the future they lose a first-round pick? Does this mean they get fined $1 million? Because you know what? That looks like an integrity issue to me. And isn't that really what Roger Goodell's opened up here? That, hey, it doesn't just have to be your owner. It doesn't just have to be your head coach. Now, if it's any player and a couple low-level employees and they pull a stunt and the league views it as an integrity issue, does that mean now you're on the hook from now on? Do you have to watch literally every employee in your building to make sure there's nothing going on? I'm sure a lot of owners aren't happy with that precedent, and I think deep down the league didn't want the Wells report to come out and paint Brady into the corner that it really did. But, there's a real long-winded way to get to your answer there. I think if Roger Goodell continues to win negotiation battles, or continues to make franchises double in value as he has, during his tenure as NFL commissioner, I think owners will overlook some hard feelings and some bitterness and say, you know what, if the Patriots were worth $1 billion when he came in and they're worth $2 billion now, which they are, and that's largely because of the last CBA, they're going to look at Roger Goodell and go, you're not my best friend right now, but my pocketbook's, my wallet's fat, and I like that.
Yeah, we just need this stuff. I mean, I know new stuff keeps popping up that's been unprecedented here recently, but we need I don't know how, but we need all of this stuff collectively bargained. I mean, we can't be making stuff up as we go, and I just feel like Roger Goodell has just done that. He's just ruled whatever he sees fit, and it's just all over the place, and it makes people crazy.
Right. The line is, it's ambiguous. Like, it's weird. Like, you don't know what's the line of integrity.
Right.
How do you define that?
Yeah, and we've spent a whole what speaks to Roger Goodell's inconsistency more than anything, in my opinion, Charles, is that we got to play a whole week of prediction radio guessing what Roger Goodell was going to do with this punishment for Tom Brady.
Hey, what speaks to the issues with consistency is could be the third time they've got to go to the court system to iron out an issue with a player and the way the NFL metes out its justice. They lost with Ray Rice. They lost with Adrian Peterson.
Third time's the charm, though, Charles.
What's that?
Third time's the charm, though.
Yeah, third time. Yeah, you better hope so. I mean, 'cause I'm going to tell you right now, Brady has got a knockout of an attorney, who's going to be handling this, and Jeffrey Kessler, who, just loves to beat on the NFL and has a heck of a record. So this is going to be ugly, and if they lose again, at some point you just got to look at this, and like you said, I think you have to sit down and really collectively bargain every last detail, because they can't keep losing like this, and people are just going to keep challenging them.
Before we let you go, Charles, who are the Packers going to play in the Super Bowl next year?
Oh God, he's a Packers homer. Just don't.
That's
a
good question.
Do not
that's a good,
answer
solid journalistic
question. Do not answer
there.
it, Charles. You would be. You're aiding and abetting just a stupid man over there.
I was just gonna say, I'm surprised you're throwing the Packers in there over Dallas already.
Yeah.
Good,
well, he's the outlier. He's the one who he's.
Well,
he's
Des Bryant's got to learn to catch the ball first. Before.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, here we go. Hey, good talking to you, man. It's been too long. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. I'll come on anytime.
All right, buddy. Charles Robinson, Yahoo Sports NFL writer on 107.7.
How can you follow him on Twitter, Charles?
Oh, at Charles Robinson. Yeah, let's send him a thank you. We do that every once in a while.
Just at Charles Robinson.
At Charles Robinson. He is Yahoo NFL writer. He's the big investigative reporter that's been out there for Yahoo on some of the big investigative stories over the years, including the one with Reggie Bush. A lot of those he basically figured out, all that stuff. But tell him thank you. At Charles Robinson. Tell him thanks for coming on with Zach and Todd in OKC.